welcome to Cooking for Baby. Now it may surprise you the recipes I'm going to show you now are for fast food. Well actually I believe fast food is a very different thing from junk food. From what are called fast food outlets you can buy a lot of food that's very high in salt and other additives, which is not something that you'd want your little one to be eating. But the idea of food being fast to make and something that children love is not a problem at all. In fact, I don't think any food should really be taboo. The more special you make foods that are not allowed, the more likely your child is to see them as really something quite intriguing and special, and therefore want those instead of the other stuff you're cooking. So I'm going to show you some recipes that are simple and easy to make that I know your children will love. So we're going to make some burgers. We're going to make them with some beef mince, some nice lean beef mince, but you could also use chicken mince or some minced up fish instead. So we're going to keep the recipe as simple as we can, and at the end I'll show you some other variations for a more adventurous child or even a grown-up. Okay, so let's start with some mince. I'm going to put this into a mixing bowl. It's nice lean organic mince. I'm going to add in a tablespoon of oats, some finely chopped onions, and a medium egg. Now I'm going to give that a quick stir, but because for this very simple recipe I find that children sometimes really don't like any kind of bits, I'm going to give it a good blitz with a hand blender and make it into a really smooth paste. I'm going to scrape off the meat from the hand blender. Okay, so once we've got that nice paste all set up, I'm going to show you how to make a really quick, easy way to make the burger pâtés. So because we're going to be dealing with raw meat, I'm going to use a chopping board that I only use raw meat for, which is this white one. I'm then going to dust a little bit of flour onto my chopping board, and I'm going to need a glass and a blunt-ended rolling pin. What you do is you sprinkle a little bit of flour in the bottom of the glass, dust it around a little bit, and then grab a couple of teaspoons, grab a good heaped teaspoon of the burger mix, put on another sprinkling of plain flour, and then give it a good old bash with the end of the rolling pin. And then, if you need to, loosen it with a round-ended knife. It should just drop out. And we're going to make 10 of those from this mix. So I've done 3 burgers here. I'm going to show you how to cook them in a non-stick frying pan. Because they're made with beef mince, there's quite a lot of fat in them, so they'll also grill really easily as well. So let's cook them in the pan. Use a non-stick frying pan, and because they're beef mince, I'll use a tiny bit of olive oil, but it won't need very much at all. It's just a little bit, just so that they can move around, and because the flour will make them stick a little bit. And then place each burger onto the pan. Because they're quite chunky, they'll need about 5 minutes on each side, so they should be nice and golden. Turn the heat down so they don't burn, but you want to make sure that they're cooked through. Turn them over and cook the other side. Now this is the very smooth pâté version, but I want to show you a slightly more grown-up version for yourself, or maybe an older child that's a bit more confident with bits. So this mix is exactly the same base. So in it we've got beef mince, the oats and the onions, and also a whole egg. But you can see it's got some red and some yellow peppers, and we've added some garlic and some nice coarsely chopped herbs. We've got oregano and basil in this one, but any herbs that you prefer. And then rather than mixing it down to a puree or a smooth paste, we're going to keep it nice and chunky. And make the burgers exactly the same way as you did before, but keep those bits nice and visible. I'm going to add those to the pan now. Reduce the heat a little bit. Now they're sizzling away. So these burgers are ideal for a child that's around about 14, 15 months. If your child is really confident with feeding themselves, then you can always chop them up in smaller pieces for a younger child. But I have in mind a child that's sitting at the table and able to feed themselves. Now you might want to serve these with a knife and fork, so just some salad, or potentially put them in a bun or a warm pita bread. I'm going to give them a little turn just to have a little look to see how they're doing underneath. So we're not quite golden yet, so we're going to give it a little bit longer. Okay, so we've had 5 minutes on each side, and they're a really delicious golden brown on both sides, and the smells are really coming out, particularly those ones with those fresh herbs in. Delicious. So we're going to serve them up with a little bit of salad, and you can either serve them in a bun, or I quite like to serve them in a pita bread. So I've just warmed one here. I'm going to open up the pocket, pop in a little bit of salad. Select a burger, and in you go. So these are the really simple pâtés, one that's been really pureed so it's nice and smooth, and then these more grown-up textured ones. So you can see the little bits of red pepper and herbs and yellow pepper showing through. So fast food, not junk food, really delicious burgers, simple as you possibly can for your youngest, and then getting to some really delicious adult colours and textures in the more complicated burger. Fast food for little kids.